Warm greetings from TNU Academy. Today we are with you to discuss about a very recently developed standard ISO 26000 which talks about social responsibility. So before we start our detailed discussion, let me tell you about the key deliverables of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to understand origin of ISO 26000, what is ISO 26000, aim of ISO 26000, the various clauses of ISO 26000 standard, how to use the standard, benefits of ISO 26000 standard, core subjects of ISO 26000 standard, principles of ISO 26000 standard, and which organization should use ISO 26000. So let's start our discussion by looking at the origin of ISO 26000 standard. ISO 26000-2010 Guidance on Social Responsibility is an international standard providing guidelines for social responsibility, SR often CSR, corporate social responsibility. It was released by the International Organization for Standardization on 1st November 2010. This standard was developed by ISO and TMBG's Technical Management Board groups. The standard was launched in 2010 following 5 years of negotiations between many different stakeholders across the world. Representatives from government, NGOs, industry, consumer groups, and labor organizations around the world were involved in its development, which means it represents an international consensus. ISO 26000 was developed by a working group of about 500 experts. At the publication of this standard, the working group was disbanded. Now let us discuss what ISO 26000 standard is all about. Organizations around the world and their stakeholders are becoming increasingly aware of the need for and benefits of socially responsible behavior. The objective of social responsibility is to contribute to sustainable development. An organization's performance in relation to the society in which it operates and its impact on the environment has become a critical part of measuring its overall performance and its ability to continue operating effectively. This is in part a reflection of the growing recognition of the need to ensure healthy ecosystems, social equity, and good organizational governance. In the long run, all organizations' activities depend on the health of the world's ecosystem. Organizations are subject to greater scrutiny by their various stakeholders. ISO 26000 standard provides guidance on the underlying principles of social responsibility, recognizing social responsibility and engaging stakeholders, the core subject and issues pertaining to social responsibility, and on ways to integrate socially responsible behavior into the organization. This international standard emphasizes the importance of results and improvements in performance on social responsibility. ISO 26000-2010 is intended to assist organizations in contributing to sustainable development. It is intended to encourage them to go beyond legal compliance, recognizing that compliance with law is a fundamental duty of any organization and an essential part of their social responsibility. It is intended to promote common understanding in the field of social responsibility and to complement other instruments and initiatives for social responsibility, not to replace them. In applying ISO 26000-2010, it is advisable that an organization take into consideration societal, environmental, legal, cultural, political, and organizational diversity, as well as differences in economic conditions, while being consistent with international norms of behavior. ISO 26000-2010 is not a management system standard. It is not intended or appropriate for certification purposes or regulatory or contractual use. Any offer to certify or claims to be certified to ISO 26000 would be a misrepresentation of the intent and purpose and a misuse of ISO 26000-2010. As ISO 26000-2010 does not contain requirements, any such certification would not be a demonstration of conformity with ISO 26000-2010. We will now discuss about the various aims of ISO 26000 standard which are identified within the standard. ISO 26000's aim to assist organizations in addressing their social responsibilities while respecting cultural, societal, environmental, and legal differences and economic development conditions. Provide practical guidance related to making social responsibility operational. Assist with identifying and engaging with stakeholders and enhancing credibility of reports and claims made about social responsibility. Emphasize performance results and improvement. Increase confidence and satisfaction in organization among their customers and other stakeholders. Achieve consistency with existing documents, international treaties and conventions, and existing ISO standards. Promote common terminology in the social responsibility field. And the last one is broaden awareness of social responsibility. Let us move forward and discuss in brief about the various clauses of ISO 26000 standard. Clause 1, Scope. Define the scopes of this international standard and identify certain limitations and exclusions. Clause 2, Terms and Definitions. Identifies and provides the definition of key terms that are of fundamental importance for understanding social responsibility and for using this international standard. Clause 3, Understanding social responsibility. Describes the important factors and conditions that have influenced the development of social responsibility and that continue to affect its nature and practice. It also describes the concept of social responsibility itself, what it means and how it applies to organizations. The clause includes guidance for small and medium-sized organizations on the use of this international standard. Clause 4, Principles of Social Responsibility. Introduces and explains the principles of social responsibility. Clause 5, Recognizing social responsibility and engaging stakeholders. Addresses to practices of social responsibility and organizations' recognition of its social responsibility and its identification of and engagement with its stakeholders. It provides guidance on the relationship between an organization, its stakeholders and society on recognizing the core subject and issues of social responsibility and on an organization's sphere of influence. Clause 6, Guidance on social responsibility core subjects. Explains the core subject and associated issues relating to social responsibility. For each core subject, information has been provided on its scope, its relationship to social responsibility, related principles and considerations, and related actions and expectations. Clause 7, Guidance on integrating social responsibility throughout an organization. Provides guidance on putting social responsibility into practice in an organization. This includes guidance related to understanding the social responsibility of an organization, integrating social responsibility throughout an organization, communication related to social responsibility, improving the credibility of an organization regarding social responsibility, reviewing progress and improving performance and evaluating voluntary initiatives for social responsibility. There are 2 additional annexers also included within the standard. Annex A, Examples of voluntary initiatives and tools for social responsibility, presents a non-exhaustive list of voluntary initiatives and tools related to social responsibility that address aspects of one or more core subjects or the integration of social responsibility throughout an organization. Annex B, Abbreviated Terms, contains abbreviated terms used in this international standard. The bibliography section of ISO 26000 includes references to authoritative international instruments and ISO standards that are referenced in the body of this international standard as source material. Let us now discuss that how organizations should use this standard. The following points provide guidance on using this standard. After considering the characteristics of social responsibility and its relationship with sustainable development, which is clause 3, it is suggested that an organization should review the principles of social responsibility described in clause 4. In practicing social responsibility, organizations should respect and address these principles along with the principles specific to each core subject, clause 6. Before analyzing the core subjects and issues of social responsibility as well as each of the related actions and expectations mentioned in clause 6, an organization should consider 2 fundamental practices of social responsibility, recognizing its social responsibility within its sphere of influence and identifying and engaging with its stakeholders as described in clause 5. Once the principles have been understood and the core subjects and relevant and significant issues of social responsibility have been identified, an organization should seek to integrate social responsibility throughout its decisions and activities using the guidance provided in Clause 7. This involves practices such as making social responsibility integral to its policies, organizational culture, strategies and operations, building internal competency for social responsibility, undertaking internal and external communication on social responsibility, and regularly reviewing these actions and practices related to social responsibility. Further guidance on the core subjects and integration practices of social responsibility is available from authoritative sources. Bibliography and form various voluntary initiatives and tools, some global examples of which are presented in Annex A. Let us now understand the few benefits of implementing ISO 26000 standard. An organization's performance on social responsibility can influence, among other things, such as competitive advantage, reputation, the ability to attract and retain workers or members, customers, clients and users, the maintenance of employee morale, commitment and productivity, the perception of investors, owners, donors, sponsors and the financial community. And the last one is relationships with companies, governments, the media, suppliers, peers, customers and the community in which it operates. Let us now know about the core subjects of ISO 26000 standard. ISO 26000 addresses 7 core subjects of social responsibility defined in the standard, which are organizational governance. Decisions are to be made considerations of the expectations of society. Accountability, transparency, ethics and stakeholders should be factors in the organization's decision-making process. Human rights. All humans have the right to fair treatment and the elimination of discrimination, torture and exploitation. Labor practices. Those working on behalf of the organization are not a commodity. The goal is to prevent unfair competition based on exploitation and abuse. Environment. The organization has a responsibility to reduce and eliminate sustainable volumes and patterns of production and consumption and to ensure that resources consumption per person becomes sustainable. Fair operating practices. Building systems of fair competition, preventing corruption, encouraging fair competition and promoting the reliability of fair business practices help to build sustainable social system. Consumer issues. The promotion of just, sustainable and equitable economic and social development with respect to consumer health, safety and access is the organization's responsibility. And the last one is community involvement and development. The organization should be involved with creating sustainable social structures where increasing levels of education and well-being can exist. We will now discuss about the key principles of ISO 26000 standard. 7 key underlying principles of social responsibility are accountability, transparency, ethical behavior, respect for stakeholders' interests, respect for the rule of law, respect for international norms of behavior, respect for human rights. Finally, as the last point of discussion, let us know which organizations can use ISO 26000 standard. Organizations in the private, public and non-profit sectors, whether large or small, and whether operating in developed or developing countries, use ISO 26000. All of the core subjects of social responsibility are relevant in some way to every organization. Since the core subjects cover a number of issues, organization will benefit when they identify which issues are most relevant and significant for them through examination of their own considerations and dialogue with stakeholders. We have now come to the conclusion of this session. Hope you have understood about the key concepts of ISO 26000 standard. In case you have any questions regarding today's topic, then please put them in the comment section of the video and we will be really happy answering them. Till we meet, next, best wishes from TNV Academy. Thank you.